Hey there, big kids. It's Mr. Hall again. So, hey, yesterday you made this really cool circle map about Mount Everest. Some of you were asking, hey, can we add some more things that we found online about this? And I'm like, yeah, sure, of course. If you have more information that you found and you were able to research about Mount Everest online, you can add those in here as well. Now, today, what we're going to do is we're going to start organizing all of this circle map into a flea map. Now, remember, flea maps are super easy to make. To make a flea map, what you'll need is a blank piece of paper. Now, we did not include one in your packet, so please don't go digging for one. You probably won't find it. But what you can do is you can use, I've seen kids use the back of a paper sack before. That makes a really good flea map, especially paper sacks because they're nice and big. The other thing you can do if you're really stuck is how about the back of your packet envelope? Flip it over. On the back side, you have this big, giant packet envelope ready to go. And so what you could do is imagine about where the center is. So remember, if you have a regular piece of paper, you can just fold it in half like this and fold it in half again. Now, if you don't, what you can do is you can take everything out of your packet and then fold your envelope the same way. So we fold it into quarters. 1/4, 1/4, 1/4, 1/4. Cool. And then in the center one, this is where we're going to put one of our middle squares. We'll go here like this. And then on the side over here, that gives me space to draw my second. This one over here. Ah! I have a feeling yours will look a little bit more neater than mine. I'm going a little fast today. Maybe a little too much coffee from Mr. Hall. Maybe we should slow down. Now that I have these three down below, we'll put 1, 2, 3 tell me mores. These tell me more sentences here, you should have at least 3. Sometimes, if you have some more information that you want to share and you have, 4, that's fine. Even 5. No more than 5, though. After 5, it gets to be a little bit big, a little bit too long here. On the bottom, remember, we have a large rectangle for our conclusion. And then another large rectangle up here for our introduction. And if you decide that you want to make this in Google Slides, remember this would be slide number 1. This piece here is slide 2, slide 3, slide 4, and then this would be slide 5. And then once I have this, I can just go ahead and add my arrows. Remember, we go from here to here to here to here. Remember, these two are joined together. And then we go down to here. So there's my flea map, nice and fast. You guys can rock this out pretty easily. Now, what we're going to do today is we're going to take our circle map here. And what I did was, as I was looking through here, I noticed some of these facts kind of fall into groups. And I put dots by everything that tells me about Mount Everest, like what it looks like and where it's located. And so it says that it's part of the Himalaya Mountains. It's in Asia. That it's the highest mountain on Earth. So I put a dot by that. The summit is 29,035 feet. So I put a dot by that. I also put that, sometimes it drops down to negative 100 degrees Fahrenheit at night. Ooh, that's super cold. And that the wind sometimes can be 130 miles an hour, and that the oxygen is very thin. Remember, as you increase in elevation, as you get higher, the oxygen gets lower. So I put dots around all of those. And so what I can do now on my map is the first thing that I want to talk about here is about how Mount Everest is all of those conditions, that makes it really difficult to climb. It's one of the most difficult mountains to climb on the planet. And so maybe that's what I can put here. So I could say Mount Everest is one of the most difficult mountains to climb. Now, I have to explain, my Tell Me Mores will explain why that's true. What makes that a true statement? So I could talk about how it's the highest mountain on the planet. So instead of writing all of that, I'm just going to put highest, and then I'll just put MT for mountain. Now, when I write it out, I'll spell out mountain. And then a fact that I should probably put in there is about the 29,035 feet for the summit. That's how tall it is. So I want to put that on there. The other thing that I want to put is that it has very thin oxygen at the peak. So you know, we could put tanks over here that you have to wear tanks. And then I'm also going to put that that there's high winds. So I can put that high wind. And the temperature can sometimes get to be a negative 100 degrees Fahrenheit. So I'll put that here too. And then the winds, it said that sometimes they can reach up to 130 miles per hour, which is incredibly strong. So I went ahead and I put that information there. And then once I put those on, then see how I put my dots by those? Now I have headache and dizziness. I didn't really use that here, but you know, that's also one of the things with the thin oxygen. So I could put headache and dizziness here. So I could say something like, you know, another reason why Everest is one of the most difficult mountains to climb is that the oxygen is very thin at the summit. Because the oxygen is so thin, it can give climbers really bad headaches and cause dizziness and make it really hard to think. Remember how Temba was talking about how he made a mistake when he was really close to the summit and he just kind of got a little fuzzy in his thinking. He took his gloves off to tie his shoe and he ended up with frostbite just for tying his shoe. I mean, that's how cold it is. That's crazy. Anyways, so that's what I want to put here. So all of this information here is going to talk about why Everest is so difficult to climb. Now, when you put yours here, yours might follow a different pattern than mine. This is just what I'm thinking on mine. But I thought here I'll talk about how they're difficult to climb and what makes them difficult to climb. And then over here, you know, when you are climbing, there's a special equipment that you need. So this over here is where I'll talk about the special equipment that they need. And then, so maybe I'll talk about that. So I can say climbers need special equipment to reach Mount Everest. Mount Everest's, I could say peak. I'm gonna say peak. I like that. That's at the top. Cool. Cool. And then down here, I can put all the information regarding that. And then over, so I could say that, you know, you have climbing suits and goggles and gloves and boots. They use a pickaxe and ropes and tracking poles to pull themselves on. And then I could talk about the oxygen tank or mask here. Cool. And then on my last one over here, what I can do is I can talk about, maybe I can talk about some of the other dangers that they face, and we can talk about crevices and how they have to use aluminum poles to go across. Or I could talk about how it's also sometimes called the world's biggest garbage dump because there's so much litter and all the problems that face the Mount Everest, and I can write about that over here. I'm going to let you guys do those two on your own because I have a feeling if I write it out here, what I notice is you guys are just kind of copying my thinking, and I want to know what you are thinking. So I'll have you fill out those today on your own. Once you're done with these 3 boxes, you are set for the day. Thanks. Have a great one.